Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Spindle TV live event. Sorry about the late notice and everything, but for those of you that might be wondering or might know or might not know, last week I spent a little bit of time in the ER, about 2 or 3 days, and had to have some teeth surgically removed that caused a orbital abscess infection and everything up through and into my eye and stuff. So it put me down and out for a little while. And so for those of you that emailed or, you know, all the Spindle TV exclusive members that asked and everything, doing better, taking antibiotics and knock on wood, the dentist that did the removal, there was no pain. So the first day, you know, once the whatever they put in Novocaine or whatever, you know, wore off and everything, they did a good job. Really, I mean, didn't have any pain. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah. So it had me. Woke up, my whole face was swelled up all the way up into the eye, and you know, so I lost you know, my smile. We got to get some more work done and try to get some things fixed and all that stuff, but that's down the road. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so I'm back, and so we're having our live class tonight, and then Spindle TV exclusive members, we're back. We'll be back Wednesday with our live classes, and I don't know if Ron Bishop is in the class tonight, but Ronnie, not Ron Bishop. Sorry, Ron, you're there, Ron. Well, is it Ron Bishop? No, it's not Ron Bishop. Ronnie. Anyhow. Got a cool class, you know, that we're going to talk about in Wednesday night for your exclusive members and all. But thanks to Brooks Martin for tonight's class topic and everything. Brooks reminded me that years ago, I put out, like, gosh, an early version of, I don't know what version of Aspire or Vetric it was, but, you know, U.S. flags and Wavy flags and things like that, making a flag. And I've gotten better since then. The software has gotten better since then, and everything. So tonight is we're gonna go through a simple and easy approach to making some pretty cool flag projects. And I do have what I call the ultimate flag pack. Kind of a file folder of all kinds of flag goodies and everything that I do have, you know, that for sale. It was up on my website and everything, and I discounted it like $50. I took off $50 of it for 4th of July. I had kind of like a promotion and all that stuff, but I didn't offer that. I didn't put that out worldwide or anything like that. I just kind of did that for, like, you know, digital woodcarver members and things like that. So we'll go through and take a look at the, you know, what all's in that flag pack and all. And if you're interested in it at all, you can send me an email. And in the email, which is at the bottom of the screen here, laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com, you can put in, like, you know, flag pack, and if you're interested, I'll send you an invoice. It would be $35, and you'll see, trust me, it's worth it. You'll see all the stuff in it and all. But it helps support the channel. It helps supports me, and you know, hey, Now I definitely need it. I got to get some teeth. But anyhow, but we're going to look at a simple approach to making U.S. flags and doing some cool stuff and everything. Very short. I was kind of reminded, again, thanks Brooks Martin. My videos don't need to be 3 and 4 hours long and stuff. You know, if I have projects like that and everything, you know, make a series of videos or something. You know, it's hard to really sit through a 3-hour video. So we're going to try to, we're 5 minutes in already, but we're going to try to make this a short, not too short, probably about an hour, but short, sweet, to the point class that's easy to digest and pretty straightforward. I mean, it really is. And you're going to see now what I show you tonight, it's rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same steps on the flag, you know, the flag part and making the files for like a flat flag, the wavy flag, same thing. But the flat flag part, you know, just kind of creating the flag and all and creating the toolpath for it. Same 3 toolpaths, no matter what the graphic is, you'll see that. I have other class videos on this and everything, but I'm going to show you all right here in tonight's class. But it's the same steps every single time. The only thing that would change would be the graphic that you would use in your, like if you wanted a graphic in the flag. And then for the wavy part, if you had, the wavy part requires a spire, you know, the other part, just making the flag and all, you can do in Desktop Pro or Aspire. So you'll see all that, but the Aspire feature of making it wavy, you know, and creating a wave, very straightforward. It's a very simple 2-rail sweep type of approach. So it'll be easy to follow. And, you know, we'll kind of get in on that and everything. So the thanks to everybody, you know, that's here tonight and watching and all. Stick with me. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to have a good time. So let's see here. We got, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to share my whole window. Share, share. It's an entire screen. I got to remember that. We're at 1080p, screen number 1. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so before we get cranking and everything, let me kind of show you my Ultimate Flag Pack file folder. So it's a folder that that I have, like I said, available to everybody. And the models and everything, my team and I, the surgeon team and everything, created all the 3D models. And so they are all our creations. And if you ever need 3D models made, you know, also you can email that. My email's on the screen still. Let me turn that off, by the way. Captions. Shut that off. Laney.Shaughnessy@SpindleTV. I've got a great team of folks that we do 3D modeling. You can send us images and graphics and have them modeled and stuff for, you know, we'll quote you and give you a price and all that stuff. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But so let's take a look here. First of all, there is a series of vector files. And in the vector files, we're going to be working with some of these, but the U.S. flag proportions, the DXF or SVG version of them, basically that is the flag. So these are perfectly proportioned U.S. flag vectors. The current United States U.S. flag and the 1776 Betsy Ross flag, constitutional, perfect, proportioned, creative flag. And you'll see those vector files here in just a minute when we actually do the designs. There's some Independence Day vectors and all that stuff and everything in the flag pack that could be put into the flag and all. And then the real cake of it is the different models. So there's different waves. There's 3 different waves that you can put in, or it could be, you know, just a standard flag, a flat flag. It could be the 1776 or the standard flag. It could be a wavy flag. So those models are in there. And then all of the emblems for, like, you know, Coast Guard, Marines and all that stuff and everything that can be dropped into the flags and stuff. So that Ultimate Kit, I used to sell it for $85 for that. You know, we're doing it for $35. But anyhow, so if you're interested and you want that kit and everything, we're going to be using a couple of the files from it tonight. But we're going to also, whatever we make tonight, as far as if we make a pretty cool wave, because we're going to make our wave from scratch tonight. We're going to bring in a graphic, just a vector graphic, and do our basic graphic that doesn't require a spire and everything. That graphic is going to be available. That's not in this, so it's going to be added to this pack. If we make a cool wave, that'll be added to the pack for you. And then anything that we might make that looks kick butt, you know, or whatever, we'll add it to the files. And we'll include it, you know, from tonight's class and stuff like that with it and all. All right. So if you do that and you do email me, just put flag pack in the, you know, so I can kind of separate the emails and know what's what. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump over and let's get out of this. Now, here's the key. Now, this is important, okay? If you use the perfectly proportioned flags, vector files that I have and everything, and let's bring them in. Let's import them in. So we're going to, it's a vector. We're going to import a vector. And on the vector, let me go to the folder. It's called US Flag Proportions. I'll bring in the DXF version, but SVG version is available as well. But what you'll see here, let's get back on the screen here. What you'll see are 2 flag vectors here, and these are perfectly proportioned according to, you know, constitutional regulations and requirements, star spacing in the Union, the stripe size, all that stuff, right? Now, the flags themselves, being perfectly proportioned and all, they are 38 inches long by 20 and 5/16 inches tall. Now, what my recommendation is because you can scale, right? You can scale it to whatever you need, but don't stretch. Never stretch. Never, ever, ever, ever stretch or skew a flag. Try to keep your proportions. I don't care if it's a small flag or a big flag. Keep your proportions tight and right. Use your aspect ratio and everything. Don't ever stretch a flag. That's just my thing. But if you set up the job in Vectric as just to start off initially, just to start off, 38, 20 and 5/16, and I'm doing 1.5 inches because we're kind of doing some 3D stuff tonight. But if you set it up for that, 38, 20 and 5/16, and then whatever the thickness you want, I'm doing 1.5 inches. 38, 20 and 5/16, that's the important part. Then you import these vectors. You can center that vector onto the project. And now from here, once you get that in, and we're going to be doing some graphic work and all that stuff. But from here, you can then, if you need to size the flag down, and then you need to go in and size the, you know, your project down and everything. If you size it this way, then you can select the flag and you look at the bottom of the screen where my camera is. Let me move my camera. Give me just a second. Nope, didn't want to do that. There we go. We'll turn that off. But down here at the bottom, the size. So right now I have this flag and it's size 20.0224 by 10.0703, right? So that's what I just drug it to. But you can go into the, let's make it round numbers. Let's go into the size tool, keeping that X and Y locked, keeping that X and Y locked. Let's just make this like 21, right? So that would be 21 by 11.2256. You keep that aspect ratio. So that number right there, 21 by 11.2256, I can come over here in my job setup and I could do the same thing, you know. And on that 21, in that 11.2256, I'll just go 11.25, which is a larger number, slightly larger number. And then I can come in here and center that, you know, onto the board and everything. I'm a little wider, right? You know, just slightly wider, but I'm centered on it. So it's not going to be that big a deal. I can run a profile cut if I need to, or whatever, if I want to cut it down, but don't go too crazy. Try to keep the exact numbers, you know, are close and all, but don't go too bad. But scale it appropriately using the aspect ratio. Don't stretch the flag. Okay. All right. So that's all. That's it. So don't stretch the flag. Okay. All right. So we are going to let's go back here to the picture in picture. There we go. We're going to stick with the, let me change my size back to 38, 20 and 5/16, 3125. Let's come back in here and go to the size and go 38. Okay. And it rounds up 31.31. Oh, it's going to round it up. Give me a second here. That's all right. It'll round it up. That's fine. It rounded up by a few thousandths of an inch, which is not going to make or break me. Now, all right. So we're going to use the regular U.S. flag, not the 1776 Betsy Ross. So we're going to go ahead and just hit delete on that. And again, it's a file. It's a DXF file that can be imported in. They both come in, so you can pick and choose, right? All right. Now, let's talk about this for just a second. First step, right? So remember, like I said, an easy approach and everything. First step, this has the vectors for both the red stripes and the white stripes. Okay, this vector file has the vectors for both the red and the white. Now, when we are actually carving a U.S. flag, 99.92% of the time, we're only carving the white stripes. And they get pocketed and things like that and stuff. We very rarely ever carve the red stripes. We might, if we have text on there, like, you know, We the People or something, you know, or a poem or, you know, Amazing Grace or whatever, we might do that carving in the red stripe area, right? But we never carve. We don't pocket it. We don't reduce it down. We have our raised red part of the flag, and then we have our white stripe, which is pocketed, and it's always the white stripe. So this vector file has both the vectors for the red and white stripes. We do not use the red stripes. So what we're going to do is we're going to select them. Start at the top, select the first one, hold your shift key down, and select every other vector. Do it at the end. At the end, you're clicking on the little line at the end, right? So skip every other one. And you should end up with the last stripe selected. So the first stripe and the last one. Right click and move those to a new layer. Name the layer red stripes if you want, right? You can even give it a color of red if you want, but turn the visibility off, okay? That way they're gone. They're not in the project. Right now, only the white stripes are in the project, okay? So that's step number one. If you're using these vectors, these U.S. flag proportion vectors from Spindle TV, from Laney Shaughnessy, from whatever, put the red stripes on their own layer, turn them off, delete them, whatever you want to do. I don't delete them because you might want to use them to help align your text if you are doing some type of text project and stuff like that. But get them out of the project. We do not need them in our way. They do not need to be there. Only the white vectors, those stripes for the white vectors. Now, that's step number 1. Okay, easy approach. Step number 2. A lot of times, sometimes I've seen users create where they want a 1-inch border around their flag, right? So the flag is carved inside their wood panel, and there's kind of like a border all the way around. Hey, that's great. That's fine. No big deal. Perfect. Whatever you want to do. The flags that I make, the stripes run all the way to the end. The flag is the panel, right? There is no border around it, right? So it's right to the end. So in this scenario, this example that I'm teaching you, and am I yelling too loud, guys? I'm kind of like passionate about this one because I really want to stress this stuff. But this scenario, the stripes, the flag, and everything is the same size as the panel. There is no border around it, okay? It's right to the end of the edges and all that stuff, okay? So in that scenario, we want the bit, the router bit, when the router bit is coming, let's pretend that we have a 1/4 inch diameter router bit here, and let's pretend that that router bit is carving, okay? And it's carving this pocket and stuff. Well, if it stops here, we got this funky little lip that gets kind of left behind on the outer edge. We want the bit to be able to kind of come out past the edge of the board, you know, when it's cleaning that pocket and all, to give us a nice clean edges and everything. So our second step is we're going to select all of the stripes. And notice what I did there. I went from right to left, bottom to top, and just run the mouse right across them to select them. We're going to go into node editing. So you can hit the letter N for node on your keyboard, or you can go to the node editing icon over here, either one. But we are going to take our mouse and we're going to drag from left to right, and we're going to select all the nodes down the right-hand side. We'll zoom in to that right-hand side. Now they're all red. Now, if I move one, they're all going to move because they're all selected. And so now you want to stay straight. Now watch your mouse. Don't be dragging your mouse all funky dunky and everything. Don't be dragging them stripes around and making your stripes all crooked and crap, okay? You want to stay straight. So I'm going to move out. Now, I could just move out a little bit and be done with it, you know, right? I could, you know, as far as what I think, you know, I just want the bit to come out. I could do that. Or I could be specific. Let's say that I wanted the bit just to go past the edge by at least half the diameter, you know, or whatever, you know, just maybe a little bit more than diameter. I can say, let's, instead of 0.125 radius, I meant radius, I could go just, you know, half the radius. Half the diameter is the radius. But in my case, I'll go, let's say 0.2. I can literally drag the mouse a little bit in the direction that I want to go, and then just type in 0.2 and hit enter, and it'll shove them out whatever that distance is. Now let's actually do it. Let's actually do it like a bigger number so you can see what I mean. If I move just a little bit, whatever direction I want to move, and I type in, let's say I type in 2 inches and hit enter. As soon as I hit enter, it'll push all those vectors at 2 inches, right? So I'm going to come back 2 inches to enter, right? Now notice that was a little glitch right there, but that's okay. All right, so one more time. I only want to go out 0.2. So I'm going to move this out a little bit and go 0.2, enter, done. So we want to move the right side out. Now come over here to the far left side. Do the same thing on these lower left nodes. Select them. Do that left to right, you know, do that left to right. Select them. Come up here, make sure you get all the nodes. All right, so pull this out just a little bit. Don't do that. Don't do what I just did there. Try to stay straight. If you got your smart snapping on, that'll help. but 0.2, I'll do that again, hit enter, pop them out. So we want these vectors to be slightly past the edge of the board, at least by the radius of the router bit. So that way it comes out and gets a nice clean edge, but that's what we want. So once we do that, now that's step number 2, get the vectors out past the edge a little bit. Again, this is for a flag that has no border around it. All right. If it's a flag that has a border around it, then you don't do that because your board's going to be bigger by whatever, 1-inch border all the way around kind of thing. But anyhow, now that's step 2. So now after you do that, select all the stripes again and group them together. G for group. G for group, or you can use the group tool over here, but group them together as one item. Okay? Perfect. All right, now I'm going to bring in a graphic now, and this graphic could be anything. I mean, it could be anything. It could be your logo. It could be a skull and anchor. It could be an eagle. It could be anything. Anything. Doesn't matter what the graphic is. You bring the graphic in, trace it if it's a picture, and you got to turn it into a vector. So let's assume it's a vector graphic. If it's not, make it a vector by tracing it. But bring it in, size it, position it how you want, and then we're going to create a boundary around it. And everything that we're about to do with this vector with this graphic that you're about to see, it's the same steps, 100% the same steps, no matter what the graphic is. I don't care if it's a picture of a Jeep, a VW, whatever, right? Whatever the graphic is, you're going to follow these steps, and it'll be the same. It doesn't matter what the graphic is; it's still the same process. Okay. Just want to stress that because it's going to be rinse and repeat for you. So the graphic that I'm going to import in is already a vector. It's not a picture that I have to trace. It's already a vector, and it's a vector that we'll include in that pack tonight. But we're going to import a vector file, and the vector file that I'm going to be importing is DXF. There'll be an SVG version of it as well, but it's going to be this eagle. So let's move it over here just for a second. Let's turn off the pink so you can see what it is, but it's going to be this eagle. Okay, this is going to be our graphic for tonight's example. And again, it's going to be the same steps. Now, before I come in here, I'm going to take all these vectors right now are ungrouped. I'm going to hit G to group them together just for a minute. You do not have to group them together because we are going to ungroup them as soon as I get them in place. But if I'm moving something around or sizing something that has a lot of vectors, I don't want to accidentally not select one of the feathers or not select, this or that. I want to make sure, so I group it together until I move it around and get it where I want, and then I'll ungroup and do whatever I have to do. So stand by 1 second. But Madra asked a question here. Madra asked a question, and I want to answer it. So the question is wait, how did you move them to exact when you have the gray box? I can use my keyboard to type in a specific amount. Yes. So let's talk about that one more time. So on the nodes, and here's what I'll do. Let's do it right up here. I'll grab this box right here. Let's go into node editing. And let's say that I grab one node here, Audra. Let's say that I grab one node, and I'll just do one, then I'll do two, right? But let's say I grab one. If I move that node in this direction or right or left, all I have to do is move it in the direction that I want it to go, just a small amount, right? I don't have to move it to the point and all. I just have to, I'm telling the software which direction I want to go. So if I come in here and I move to the right and then I type in 1 inch, let's say 1, and hit enter, then it's going to move that node that 1 inch, right? Now let's say that I wanted to move down, right? So I want to move down. I can move down a little bit, and again, it's going to be 1, enter, the distance that I want to go, right? So it'll move down. Now, let's undo that. And let's say it was both nodes, right? So I got 2 nodes selected now, and I want to pull them, let's say I want to pull them to the left. So I'll pull them to the left a little bit, and I'll type in 2, enter, 2 inches, and it moves them, you know, together, right? So all I have to do is move the node or nodes in the direction that I want to go, and then I can type in a specific value that I want to move and hit enter, and it will execute that move. All right. Cool beans. All right, all right, all right. So let's get rid of that, and let's go back here. All right, so I got all kinds of Google Chrome popping in. Okay, let's go ahead and let's select the flag, and then I'm so sorry, give me 1 quick second. 1 quick second. Sorry for the interruption, folks. Give me 1 quick moment. One more moment. Someone is asking for the link. Come on. Content. Live. Oh, it's crazy. It's not showing the. All right, stand by 1 more second, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Sorry, someone was having a difficult time finding the Spindle TV. Okay, there it is. Share, copy link, and paste. There you go. Okay, sorry about the interruption. All right, so back on track now. Here's what we got. We have our graphic here, and again, I grouped it together. It's a temporary group together, so I can just move it onto where I want to position on the flag, right? So let's say that I'm actually kind of good with it right there. All right. I'm not going to size it. That's good. I think it's good right where it is and everything. Now, so this is your next step. You're going to take whatever graphic it is. If it's not a vector, make it a vector, right? Trace bitmap and all that stuff. Trace the image and turn it into a vector. All that good jazz. And move that graphic into position. Size it how you want. Place it how you want. That's the next step. Now, remember, your stripes are all grouped together, and that's one of the main reasons that we group it together, so that we can work with this graphic without grabbing a stripe and moving something accidentally and all that stuff, right? So now I need to ungroup this graphic because I need to select the outside of the most outside vector, the most outside line, the line that outlines the entire graphic, whatever your graphic is, right? It doesn't matter, whatever it is, it's that one vector that literally goes around the entire outside. That's the vector we want to select, okay? We are going to offset this vector outward. I like an 1/8 inch offset. It really, for me, an 1/8 inch offset is a perfect offset, not too far, not too close, that kind of thing. So that's my offset number. Your offset could be whatever you want, but we are going to select this graphic and we are going to offset it outward by whatever distance you want. So I have the vector selected. I'm going to go to the offset tool. We're going to offset outward, and we're going to go, for me, I like 1/8 of an inch. That's my go-to. All right, we're not going to create sharp corners. We're not going to delete the original, but we are going to make sure that select new is checked. Very important for this, because in some cases, when we offset this vector, it might create other little vectors and stuff that offsets as well, because of the way the boundary is and all that stuff, or what have you. I'm going to show you in the following step. We're going to be deleting those unnecessary vectors, but if we don't have them selected, select new over here, if we don't have them selected from the process, it is a pain in the butt to try to go in and find all those offsets that got created that we don't want unintentionally, right? It's hard to go find those and, fix them. But if we have select new checked, then it does that automatically. When it creates that offset, it selects all the vectors it created. Okay, so select new, and we're going to hit offset. So offset outward 1/8 of an inch. Now, in here, looking around, there is no offsets inside that got created there. I'm sorry, that's a lie. There is one right there and one right there. You see those two? Don't want them. So after the offset, here's what you do. Hold your shift key down. Click on the outside line that got created. Come on out here to the outside line that got created. Click on it. It's going to turn off that selection. It's going to keep everything else still pink that was selected, right? So you see how they're still pink right there? And then hit your delete key. So turn off our outside border. That's the one we want. And anything else it created, just hit delete. Get rid of them. Okay? So brought the graphic in, sized it, ungrouped it. We selected the outermost line, offset it outward. Mine's 1/8 of an inch. I love 1/8 of an inch offset. And then we held our shift key down and turned off that outside line that got created, and whatever else is pink in there, you hit delete. Just hit delete and get rid of it. We only want that outside offset line. That's our vector that we want. We're going to use that as a trimming vector in this following step, okay? Y'all with me on there? If you are, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Now, we now are going to use this offset vector for our graphic. We're going to use this offset to be our trim boundary for our stripes. Notice our stripes run right through the eagle, right? Those white stripes are going right through the eagle. We don't want that. We need to create kind of a platform, like a blank area for this eagle to get carved on, or this graphic. I don't want it to be specifically for the eagle. Again, it doesn't matter what your graphic is. We need that area. We need the stripes not to go through it, right? We need the stripes to kind of go around it. So this offset that we created becomes our trim boundary so that we can use it to trim the stripes. All right. We are going to be using the trim tool, the one right next to the scissors that looks like a barber pole or a candy cane. And when we use the trim tool, we can clear things inside of a boundary away, or we can clear things outside of a boundary away, right? And the boundary is always the last item we select. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that I need to select the stripes first. That's the items I want to trim. I want to hold the shift key down and select my trim boundary last. And then I want to clear inside the boundary, meaning anything that's inside that boundary line, get rid of it. And what's going to happen is it's going to redraw the stripes based on that boundary line. It's going to clear all the stripes that are inside that boundary. It's going to get rid of those and redraw the outer ones to follow that outline. So when I hit clear, you will see that it cleared the stripes away. And if you look very closely, it drew the stripe is following that boundary line, right? Okay, so that boundary has now officially served its purpose. So you can do one of two things. Number one, come in here and select that boundary and hit delete and get it out of the project. Or maybe you don't want to delete it. Maybe you want to keep it, but we don't need it in our way. It's served its purpose. The stripes have been trimmed. It doesn't need to be there anymore. It's only going to confuse the situation if we leave it there. So we either select that boundary and delete it after it served its purpose, or we right click and move it to another layer, and we can just call it our graphic trim boundary or our stripe trim boundary, whatever you want to call it. Again, we will turn it, I'll give it a different color. That way it's not black, anything but black. But I'm going to turn off the visibility anyway because I don't need it visible. But if it were visible, we'd be able to see it, right? You'd be able to see it, and all that. But we don't want it visible. We want to turn it off. So turn off that radio button. Now look at the stripes. So now you can see the stripes, right? This stripe vector has been trimmed, that 1/8 of an inch trim around that eagle. And this stripe vector here, this stripe is going around that eagle. If I were to, let me come in here and select the eagle. If I were to move it out of the way, you will see what happened there. It cleared those stripes out and it created this flat platform, right? So this flat platform right here, it created that my graphic can get carved into now, right? So I'm going to hit undo, Control Z to put that back. Okay. So that's the purpose of clearing those stripes, to create that flat area that my eagle can get carved into. All right. Now, let's take just a quick second and recap. Number one, we set up our job, 38, 20 and 5/16. We imported the vector of the two flags, the flag proportion vectors. We picked the flag that we were using, put it on the, centered it on the board area there. And then we took our red stripes, moved them, got them out of there, put them on another layer, and turned that layer off, got them out of the picture. Our white stripes, we went into node editing after we selected the white stripes, and we moved them out past the board because this flag is going edge to edge. So we want the bit to be able to go past the edge a little bit to get nice clean cuts and everything. So we node edited and we moved those stripe nodes just out past the board a little bit on both sides, left and right side. And then we grouped them together. We brought in our graphic. In our case, there was no tracing required. It was already a vector. So we brought it in, sized it, positioned it how we want. And then we offset the outside boundary of that graphic, whatever distance you want. I went 1/8 of an inch. And that offset became our trimming boundary to trim our stripes. So that's where we're at right now. We just trimmed the stripes. Okay. So now, this next step, not required, but I like to do it anyway. I like to go back and reselect the stripes. Come over here. I'm holding the shift key down. Make sure I select all the stripe vectors, and I G for group. I regroup them back together. Sorry, I don't know. Give me a second. It's not required to group them back together, but I just group them together. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, if you were just carving a nice, cool, flat flag, no wave in it, you're done. This is it. That's it. Now you're ready to make the tool pass. Okay. So literally those steps, it would be the same steps every single time. Same steps 100%. And if it was a flat flag you were carving, you're now finished. Once that trim is done, you're ready for tool pathing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to follow this through. But before I follow through with that, I'm going to come over here and go File, Save As. I'm going to name this our Eagle and Flag class file. And just so I can save my changes there. And now I'm going to move over and we're ready to create the tool pass. Okay, this is the first step, our flat flag. All right, for the tool pass, 3 tool pass. That's it. This is the order I like to set them up, to carve and everything. You can do it in whatever order you want. But for me, the first one is the stripes. I like to do the stripes first. It is going to be a V carve. All 3 tool paths are going to be a V carve tool path. So a V carve tool path, start depth is 0. I like an 1/8 of an inch pocket. I love an 1/8 of an inch on my, when I have raised letters. When I have like raised design or pockets or something like that, I like an 1/8 of an inch cut on a 3/4 inch board or what have you. Even on this one that's going to be a lot thicker because it's going to have a wave, I like an 1/8 of an inch pocket, so it's not too deep and all that crap and everything. It gives me exactly what I need. So for me, an 1/8 of an inch is my magic number. So my flat depth, the stripes are going to get cut down 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to use a 60-degree V-bit for this. You can do 60, 90, 22, 15, whatever you want, right? I like a 60. And I'm also going to use a 1/4 inch end mill for my clearance tool. So we're going to come down here and go 1/4 inch end mill. So 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch end mill for the clearance tool. Offset or raster at this point, an offset is fine. It's just going to go around and around. I like sometimes to go back and forth with raster, cutting with the grain. I don't want to, I don't like to see like any kind of little swirl tool marks. If let's say that my CNC is not tightened right as far as, trim or whatever. I mean, let's not get into all that, but a raster cutting back and forth with the grain is ideal for me, right? So I'm going to choose raster, but offset is fine too. Whatever you want, right? Totally up to you. And the raster angle is going to be back and forth. So a 0. I'm going to name this stripes and I'm going to calculate it. Okay. So in our toolpath preview here, let's preview the visible toolpath and you will see that all of the stripes are carved. So this is where we're at as of right now. Now I'm going to turn off the color, the black. So here's where we're at. Okay. So stripes for me is first. My second toolpath, I like to do the stars. Okay. Now for me on the stars, I do not limit the cut. So V-carve toolpath, no flat depth. I like the stars to carve to their full V. So 60-degree V-bit, no clearance tool. Okay, this is my setup. You can do whatever you want. You can, however you'd like. But stripe or stars, 0 start depth, no flat depth, no limit, 60-degree V-bit. Calculate. Okay, preview the visible toolpath. Okay, and then the third and final toolpath for the project is the graphic. So we're going to select the graphic. Okay, this is why I like grouping the stripes together, is because, I can't accidentally select the stripes or parts of the stripes or anything like that when I'm selecting the graphic. I can go right over the lines and everything. It's only going to select that graphic because they're grouped together, right? And when something is grouped, when you're selecting, if you go left to right, it has to be 100% encompassed in that selection window or it won't select it, right? All right, so on the eagle here, now the eagle, any of the graphics, I will say this. Now, let me preface this. It's a V-carve, but any of the graphics, I always put a flat depth in. I don't let it carve too deep, but I always set the flat depth to the same depth as the stripes. So it's going to be 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. And it's always, there's going to be a 60-degree V-bit, and I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill. I can also, if I want to, include an 1/8 inch end mill if I want to get into any, if I didn't want my V-bit doing all like the minor work, and my 1/4 inch bit can only fit in certain areas, I can use a smaller bit. It's not required by any means or what have you, but whatever you want, right? You can add another bit in there. I'm just going to stick with the 1/4 inch for now. So 1/8 inch flat depth, 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch clearance tool. I'm going to raster this. And this is going to be our graphic. In this case, I'll just do, I'll put the word eagle, but here, let me do graphic. Graphic, right? Just because it doesn't matter what the graphic is. And calculate. Now, I got some issues with my graphic, got some overlaps and all that stuff. Let's continue, and then we'll come back and clean up. I want to show you that real quick. Continue anyway. Let it calculate, and then preview the visible toolpath. All right, and that is it. Now let's add some color just for context, right? And so that would be what my flag would look like. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this just a real quick one step further. Some of you may or may not know that this preview window here, we can add a kind of a surface color, if you will, to this in the new version 12. We can give a surface color to our project area and all that stuff. But in the case of this, I don't want to create a surface area, but I do want to create different colors of of this area and everything. And the what I would like to do is, let me show you here. We'll try it with the surface color first. I'm going to make this red, okay? And then down here, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Forget the surface color right now. I want this. I want to, let's say I want to send this to my customer. Let's real quick get through this. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. Let's say I want to send this to my customer, but let's say I'm going to paint this flag with like the blue union, the red stripes, the white stripes, my graphic and all that. And I want to show them kind of what this is going to look like, right? Well, if I come in here and add in, let's say a toolpath color, right? And let's say that on my stripes, I select stripes and I change that color to white for the stripes, both of them. Okay. And let's say my stars are also white. And let's say that I want my graphic to be black. I'll do my graphic as black. Okay. I would like to be able to now show the blue union and the red stripes, but I don't have anything. I don't have anything, you know, kind of. I don't have a toolpath to kind of give a color to make that happen, right? So if I'm doing something like this and I want to send it to a customer and all, for preview purposes only, I'm going to create 2 additional toolpaths that do not get used in the carving, but they're just for simple preview purposes only, so I can save my preview image. And the first toolpath is going to be, I'm going to select this union right here and right here. And I'm going to go into node editing. The union is this vector that's right here. It's not part of our carving and all, but I want to move these nodes. I'm just going to move them out past the line there. And then I want to move the 2 left nodes. I want to come out past. And I'm going to create a pocket cut with a cut depth of 0.0001. I want the software to think that much material. I don't have to go that many zeros. 001. 1,000 of an inch, right? 1/10,000 of an inch. But anyhow, 1,000. But anyhow, I want the software to think that material is getting removed, right? So when I calculate this tool path, and it could be whatever bit, right? I'm just going to use the 1/4 inch end mill. When I do that, I'm going to preview that tool path. Now, you can't physically see that 1,000th change here, but now I have a tool path I can add a color to. And if I give it a color of blue, I now have that area in blue, right? Okay. Now, same thing here. Same thing here. My red stripe area here, right? The red stripes. I have a choice in this matter. Okay, I have a choice. I could just create kind of a vector boundary to go around the whole thing and just do a pocket cut over the whole thing, right? And that's going to be easiest for me, and that's what I'm going to do here. But I could also turn on my red stripes and just do a tool path on that, on those vectors. And that would be it too as well. So let's do it both ways just so you can see. I'll turn on the red stripes. And I'm going to actually come over here and come down to select the layer vectors so they're selected for me. I'm going to create a pocket toolpath. Now, same thing, 1,000ths, but this time I'm going to use a small bit, okay? I need to get into the corners in things. So I'm going to go like a 16th inch bit. Get rid of that 1/4. And I'm just going to hit calculate. I'm going to preview that visible toolpath. Again, you're not really going to see anything happen at that point, right? And then but I can now add a color to it. And here's the problem with that. The stripes go right through my eagle. Okay? They're going right through my eagle. So can't have that. So I need to do a little trim. But you get the idea. So let me do the trim real quick. Again, I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. I don't want to confuse you. This is only for preview purposes and all. Let me do the trim. So here's how I'm going to do the trim. I'm going to use the same vector that was on my offset. And I'm going to turn off everything. Turn off everything. I need to delete a couple layers, but I'm going to turn off everything except for the red stripes and the vector boundary, right? So those are the only two things that are on. I'm going to select the red stripes. I'll group them together. Select those first, select that boundary last. Use my trim tool. Clear inside the boundary. And then I can turn that off. And now my red stripes have that same boundary, right? So I'll go back into this pocket cut and recalculate that. Undo that last and preview the visible toolpath. And there we go. So now I have a colored graphic. I now have a colored graphic that I can save that preview image and send it to the customer, say, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and blah, 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 and, you know, whatever, right? Whatever. Now, if I was just carving this and painting it all black, you know, and let me reset the preview and preview the visible toolpath. Then I would just carve the toolpath or preview the toolpath, turn on the global fill color, and it would all be black, right? Don't have to make those two little extra, vector toolpaths or whatever, but those two toolpaths with the color, if I'm using the color option, right? Then if I'm using the color option, let me turn those off. Then I need to kind of take a little material off the stars and a little material off the red stripes to get that color. Now, I could, how about the material color of red? We can absolutely do that as well. Material color of red. And what Brooks Martin was asking, how about material color of red? We could absolutely do that. We could come in here and do a material color, solid color, make it red, like that. And then when we preview these visible toolpaths, I actually didn't need to do that last one. Let me turn off the okay. So Brooks Martin, the only problem with the material colors red is the top of the eagle is red too, right? Not just the stripes. So that's the only issue with that. If we do it the first way I showed, let's go back to maple, and everything, then the top of the eagle is kind of that lighter color, and I actually kind of get the representation of what I would carve or how it would look. All right, anyway, that was a little bit of a detour. I just wanted to show you that. Those two vectors would only be for preview purposes only, so I could save that image and send it to a customer, blah, 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 but that's not part of the design. Now, if I was just doing a flat flag, that's it. Done, right? It's gone. It's finished. Okay, finito, done. All right, now let's come in here and let's turn our vectors back on. First of all, I want to right-click and delete all my empty layers. Get rid of all those. I want to turn off the red stripes. I want to turn my graphic back on, and I want to turn my flag back on. And I'll bring this union back to size here. Okay. All right. So that's it right there. That's the flag with the graphic. Let me get rid of these two toolpaths. I don't want to confuse the situation. Delete this and delete this. Okay. So we have a toolpath for our stripes, toolpath for our stars, toolpath for our graphic. Okay. The stripes have a flat depth of 1/8 of an inch. Stars, no flat depth. Graphic, I always do a flat depth, the same depth as the stripe, so 1/8 of an inch. And again, your depth can be whatever you want, right? I just like 1/8 of an inch. It's all I need to get the look that I need that I want to look. Okay, now we know a simple approach to creating all kinds of cool flags with all kinds of cool graphics that could literally be anything. Okay. As far as, just a simple V-carve flat flag with any kind of cool graphic in there. Simple approach. The steps would never change. The only thing that changes is the graphic that we use, right? All right. Now, everything from this point forward is going to require a spire because we're going to be adding a wave to this flag. That's a lie. I just lied to you. I just lied to you. If you purchase the Ultimate Flag Pack, there are wave models in that flag pack that can be imported in to give you a wave. So that could be done in Desktop, Pro, or Aspire. So let's do that. We will come in here and import a 3D model. So again, this all three, Desktop, Pro, or Aspire can do this. On this import 3D model, we're going to go right into the Ultimate Flag Kit 3D model files. And on our STL files, we have our, let's come down here, wave 1, wave 2, or wave 3. Okay. Now, if I want to know what those waves look like, there are PNG images of those, but it's not going to show me those PNG images because I'm actually in the process of importing a 3D model. So it's only showing me 3D model files. Okay. It's only showing me the available 3D model files. So in this case, I'm going to do wave 3. I'll just pick wave 3. I'm going to import that in. It is already sized. I'll come in here and make that just 38 even. Let's go 0.3125. Thickness we'll deal with later. Excuse me. Center the model. Position and import. Slide the slider bar all the way to the bottom. Import. That's a lie. That's a lie. I want to trim off a little bit of the back. So I would slide the slide bar to the bottom, but just up just a little bit to trim off a little bit of that back meat. If I didn't want to have to size this down, right? Because I'm doing this on an 1.5-inch board, and that was 1.7 inches. That 0.2, I would want to trim off the back side so I didn't have to really flatten my trim down. But this wave is so big, the wave is so big, 0.2 is not going to make a difference. So that's fine. I'll just go in and size that component and make it my 1.5 here. There you go. So it didn't take away from the wave at all very much. And now I have a wave file. Okay. Now, importing that in, Desktop, Pro, or Aspire can do that. We can import that model in, no big deal. Now, we have 2 additional toolpaths we have to make, and then we have to alter our first 3 if this is a wavy flag, because we have to project onto 3D model. Project onto 3D model, very key for those stars, stripes, and eagle. It needs to follow the wave. But before we do that, we'll go in and create our 3D rough cut. The model position in the material, I'm touching off on the material surface, 1.5 inches. Model's the same thickness and everything, so we're good there. So we're going to click OK. I'm going to say no for recalculating the toolpath. Z-level raster, I'm going to use the material as the boundary. Z-level raster, 0 degrees on the raster angle, back and forth with the grain. 3D rough. Wave 3D rough. And calculate. All right, that's going to do that's going to come in and rough cut that wave. We're going to be, we're literally almost done. So we're probably going to be about an hour. We're an hour and 9 minutes right now, probably 1.5 hours at the most on this. We're almost done. After we create this, we're going to create a wave of one. We're going to create one more wave, but this time it's going to be using Aspire from scratch. And then we're done. All right, so there's my 3D rough cut. So it, hogged away all the material for the wave, we are going to create a 3D finish cut. The 3D finish cut, I'm going to use an 1/8 inch ball. Hell, it's just a wave. I could use a 1/4 inch ball because there's no detail in there. It's just a wave. So I could the largest ball nose bit that I have in my arsenal. I'm going to go 125 inches a minute on that, and we're going to do a raster cut, again, using the material as the boundary. Raster cut, and we're going to call this our wave 3D finish. Calculate. Preview that toolpath. Now, for this preview purposes and everything, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to turn my resolution down. I'm going to go just high. That way I can get through these two toolpaths fairly quickly. Okay. All right, now we have our wave. So those two cuts are done, and that would be our first two cuts. You know, we have our 3D rough and is first, 3D finish is second. Now, for the open up the stripes here, okay, it's because it's the same toolpath. The only difference is I need to project it onto the 3D model. Down here at the bottom, project on the 3D model and recalculate those stripes. So now the stripes will follow the wave, okay? The stars, everything's going to stay the same as the stars, but I'm going to project on the 3D model, calculate. That way the stars follow the wave. And then my graphic cut, project onto 3D model, calculate. Again, we got to go back and show the cleanup on that. Preview the visible toolpath. All right. And so let's turn off the, we're just going to do material color. No, we'll do toolpath color, that's fine. But anyhow, so there's our wavy flag with our graphic, right? Using one of those wave models in that pack, right? Laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com. It's $35 if you would like one of those. I'll send you an invoice. All right. Now, that's importing an existing STL 3D model. We had three wave files. You're going to have more than that because we're going to create one more wave here, and whatever wave we create, if it looks good, we're going to add that to the pack. Okay, but so that's an importing an existing wave file. So Desktop, Pro, and Aspire can do it, all three. Okay, you can do that. So we have that one 3D model, third-party model file, STL. We can import that in, and then we can carve our toolpaths for our graphics and everything right there on it. Okay. All right. Final approach. Final approach. We're going to come over here and turn off that wave. Get that out of there, and we're going to make our own wave, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for us, from this point forward, this is an Aspire thing. We're going to create a wave vector. We're going to create our drive rails, and we're going to do a 2-rail sweep. Okay? All right. And we're going to, your rails can be straight up and down. They can be side to side. They can be at an angle. We're going to go a slight angle and everything. But let's ask a question, or let's answer a question. Can the software produce the reverse mel plug to V-carve inlay the stars and stripes? If it was a flat flag, yeah, you can do inlay toolpaths instead of the V-carve toolpath. But I would do a V-carve inlay. If it's a wavy flag, That one, Eric said, that would have to be some trial and error. I'd have to figure that one out because I've never done an inlay on a wavy object, right? But if it was the flat flag, yeah, I could do a V-carve inlay or a standard inlay. I would do a V-carve inlay so I get nice points on my stars and everything. But I could do a V-carve inlay. But absolutely, yes, you could do that 100%. Okay. All right, so now we're going to create our own wave here. So this is an aspire function from this point forward, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to create 2 drive rails. And now right now, I'm just going to make them straight up and down. And I'll just put them like that for right now. And then I also need to make a wave. Now, on the wave, I'm going to, down here, I'm going to draw a box that kind of represents how my board thickness. My board is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go 38 long by 1.5 inches, 1.5. And that gives me kind of, so I can know, like when I'm making my wave, I need some meat in the back, right? I don't want the wave going right to the back, and I don't have any like real meat back there and everything. So now I have something I can draw my wave in, and I can, I know that if I need to size it down or if it's too big of a wave or this or that, blah, blah, blah. All right, so in here, I am actually going to use the freehand tool. I am going to turn off, that's a lie. I'm going to turn kind of slightly up the smoothness and the stabilization. We'll just leave it right there. And I'm going to just kind of start, creating the wave. And you can, now I will say this. I think I've seen online like wave vectors that, different wave vectors and all that are available and everything. I can't remember if that's true or not, but you can freehand draw, you can import, you can do whatever. In my case, I'm going to just freehand draw. So I am, and I'll now whatever I freehand draw, that's not, I'm going to go back and node edit it and kind of, smooth things out. But I want kind of like on the here, I want, slightly bigger and further waves and stuff. And then I want to kind of, slightly shallow over here. Now, first things first, making sure that my wave is not above my box. So I'm just going to drag that down. We'll come right there. And then the second thing I want to look at is I want to make sure that my dips still leave me some meat back here, right? So let's go to node editing, and I can adjust whatever I want. So it's going to have kind of short burst waves. They're going to get longer and longer, and it's going to kind of ripple. If you want a real like ripple at the end of the flag, like, let's say you got to think about like wind, right? Wind and all that stuff, how the flag would kind of wave. And if we looked online really quickly, if we went online and if I typed in wavy flag and I go to images, I can look at like, different, like what, like people create, how they've made their waves and all. And I can see if, if anything, I'm not going to use any of these graphics, but I can see how they're doing their waves. And, what, if anything looks good to me. None of these right now look good to me at all. Or anything like that, none of them look like a natural wind wave, right? or anything, but you know, it might help give me a little bit of inspiration and things like that. Really, none of those are doing anything for me. Something like this, maybe, you know, I can see, but really that's not doing a whole lot for me. So what I'm trying to get at is if I wanted more of a ripple down here at the end, I can add more nodes, and I can add you know, some again, get that flow right, you know, get that flow right and all, but I can add some more wave at the end. You know what I mean? Let me get rid of, I got a little sharp point kind of going on here. All right. So if you wanted that ripple at the end, you can do that, whatever you want. You know, add things in, adjust things and all that, create the wave however you want. And the great thing about it is you can make changes, you can preview it, and then you can make whatever changes that you want to make, right? You can make whatever change you want and everything. I'm going to stick with this. This is it, right? This is what I'm going to stick with. Now, here's the great thing about this is I need my legs on the ends here. So this box that I made, I can now take my scissors, trim this little overhang away, trim the top away. Did I not over? Oh, can't trim the top away if your vector doesn't go there. So let's take the scissors and trim that away. Now trim the top away. Okay. And then we never use the bottom span. So go into node editing, delete the span across the bottom. So that's our wave vector. Okay. So that's what we're going to be sweeping between the two rails. Now, very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, your drive rails, the distance that I have them currently from the flag, if I tried to sweep between these two drive rails as they are, it would literally stretch the flag to those rails. So you see what it did to my wave? It kind of muted it, right? It kind of flattened it out. So very important. It's important that my rails be, if they're going to be straight up and down, if my wave is just going to be straight up and down, you know, there's no angle to it or anything like that, then it's very important that we are relatively close to our board, because again, when we do the two rail sweep, it's going to stretch that flag out to those rails and all, and it may mute our wave if we're too far away, right? So it's important that we're relatively close. Okay. I like to overhang, or I like to go outside. I don't want to be right on the edge of my board. I want to be on the outside of my board. So my wave, because the Vectric is going to trim anything that's outside of your white area. Vectric erases it. It's zero. It's gone. It's nothing, right? So any part of this wave that's outside of that white border, you know, you're not going to see it. It's only going to create what's inside the white area, and all. So the drive rails can be right. I don't like being right up on it, you know, just off a little bit or what have you. So I'm a decent little distance away. Sorry, I don't know what's going on right now. But this is what I'm going to use. We're going to do a straight, and then I'll tilt the drive rails a little bit, and we'll do an angle. All right. So here's our three vectors. Okay, we've got our wave and our two drive rails. It's all we need to create our own wave. So for this, it's going to be, again, this is a Spire feature, two rail sweep. We're going to select our left rail first. Hold the shift key, our right rail second. That's going to be our drive rails. Very important to make sure that our arrows are pointing in the correct direction. Hold on a minute. Okay. Chad Jones, yes, you can purchase the flag pack by emailing laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com. Put in the subject line flag pack. I'll send you a $35 invoice because I did deduct $50 off of it. So $35. Once the invoice is paid, the model files the link will be emailed to you to download. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to answer that quick question. And I also wanted to make sure that laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com. I want to make sure that our chat I got a message saying our chat was disconnected. So I want to make sure we got that. All right, here we go. So we selected our 2 lines. That's our use selection as the drive rails. Again, it's very important to make sure that the arrows are pointing in the right direction. And then we're going to select our wave. Now we have 2 choices. Scale the cross section with the width. Sweep between spans. Okay. Scale the cross section with the width means that if our width is longer than our vector and it does have to stretch, it's going to scale X, Y, and Z. So it's going to stretch X and Y, but it's also going to stretch Z. Okay. So if we do not have scale cross section with width, it's going to just sweep between the lines and it's going to keep the thickness the way that we drew it. I want to stay within my 1.5 inches. I made my box that 1.5 inches. I drew my wave inside that box, all for a purpose. So I do not want to scale the cross section with the width. I don't want to make it any thicker than it already is. I want to it'll sweep between the 2 spans. That's it. So I don't want that checked. But if you did check it, just know it's going to stretch X, Y, and Z. All right, so I'm going to sweep between the 2 spans. We're going to hit apply. I'll call this, let's just call this wave 4 for right now. I'm going to hit add. All right, now let's take a look at our 3D model and let's see what we created with the wave. So the wave I created, or the wave that got created, on a straight up and down line, it doesn't look that good. Now at an angle, slightly stretch, it would look good. Like a wind blowing, let's say, down from the top left corner down, this will look fine. But coming straight across with the straight lines, it doesn't look that great, but we're going to stick with it. Okay, so you see, the whole point is drive rails, wave vector, 2 rail sweep, right? So it doesn't matter what I've got drawn here. That's what it is. Okay, so that's our wave and everything. So that's how we created that wave. Now let's change it up just a little bit. On this, I'm going to go ahead and turn that wave 4 off, and I'm going to take my drive rails and I'm going to angle them. So that I'm going to angle them so that it's like the wind is kind of coming across the top corner and sweeping across. So I'm going to take these 2 and I'll go into node editing. I'm going to kind of pull them together, right? Pull them together. And then I'm going to move this, not that, don't do that. Let's get out of node editing. And then I'm going to move this one out past the board here. Now, I'm going to bring this right pretty darn close to the edge here. And I'm going to bring this one pretty darn close to the edge here. Okay. It's going to sweep this. It's going to stretch the vector, but it's going to sweep it at an angle. Okay. So you're going to see the wave will kind of start rippled. It'll start disappearing. All right. So here we go. We're going to go to the 2 rail sweep tool. Select our left rail and our right rail. That's our drive rails. Select our wave. Apply. All right. So now you'll see, you can see with the grayscale there, and let's look here. Now you can see the wave is kind of, coming across here. All right. Now, I would actually like to reverse this. I'd actually like to have this little part down here versus up here. I'd like to reverse this a little bit, but I'm also going to take out one of these ripples right here in the middle. I don't like that. Let's do that really quickly. In our vector, let's reset this. I'm just going to hit reset. On our vector here, I'm going to go into node editing on the vector, and I'm going to take this one right here. I'm going to kind of take this one out. So basically, I'm going to delete this point. And what's going to happen is it's going to be kind of a long sweep, and then it's going to ripple into here. But I want to pull this back a little bit. And I want to pull this down a little bit. So that's going to be my ending right there. Now, what I said was I wanted that little point to be at the bottom instead of the top. So I'm actually going to change the angle of my drive rails. I'm going to change them the other way. I'm going to switch them around the other way. So I'm going to actually select these, and I'm going to hit the letter H on my keyboard. Let me get out of node editing. I'm going to hit the letter H on my Shift H. No, that doesn't do anything. It's this. It would be the same lines. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Let's see here. I'm gonna just go into node editing, and I'm gonna pull them in the other direction. It's the same. It does H using the letter H was flipping horizontally, but it creates the same. The vectors would be the same. Anyhow, let me just pull these this way. Okay, now notice this one had. Let's undo that. This one has a point in the middle. I want to get rid of that point. I want to just point A to B. All right, one more time. Let's pull this way. And then let's move this over. All right, now I'm going to change up, and I'm going to just pull this one back a little bit. Like that. And I'm going to pull this one. I'm just going to kind of randomly pull that one that way. Mix it up, whatever you want. All right, here we go. Two rail sweep. Select the left rail, right rail. That's going to be our drive rails. Select our flag and apply. All right, let's come over here. And there's our wave. Okay. All right, let's stick with that one for right now. And so we have that wave right there. Let's go ahead and create our 3D rough and 3D finish toolpath for that. So 3D rough cut. Let's go same model as the material as the boundary, same Z level raster. Let's recalculate that. Reset the preview. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay, 3D finish cut. Everything is going to stay the same. Calculate that. All right, preview that real quick. All right, our graphics and everything, we are going to open them up and recalculate them on this new wave, projecting onto the 3D model. So it follows the new wave. The stars, same thing, recalculate, projecting onto the 3D model, the new wave. And then the graphic, same thing, project on the 3D model. We got to fix that graphic real quick. I want to show you. It won't take long. I want to show you that, and that's going to be our wrap up. All right, preview the visible toolpath. And so there is our wave that we made ourselves using our Aspire 2-rail sweep, drawing our drive rails and our wave vector. And we've got the drive rails, we got it kind of, sweeping. You can figure out how you want your wave, how you want it to flow, how you want your wrinkles, whatever the case may be. And, so that is that. So what I'll do is I'll make that wave number 4. We'll add that to the graphic, and it will add that to the graphic pack. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we say our goodbyes and all, before we say our goodbyes, I want to take this graphic here and I want to run it through the vector validator. We kept getting issues. Give me just a second here. Okay, I'm going to run this through the vector validator. We kept getting issues popping up talking about overlaps and intersections and things, right? And so if we zoom in on this and everything, we'll notice that, it's pointing out a couple of these little overlaps. Now, in the scheme of things, they are minor, so it really didn't affect the drawing, okay? And so, but these, I want to clean it up. There's only 14 and 8. So here's the deal. All these square vectors, you see those square vectors? That's trash. So if a vector doesn't have any kind of shape to it, right, and it's a square vector, sometimes we call it figure 8 and all that, it's trash. So go in and delete all the square vectors, right? All those vectors, there's probably quite a few of them. You can see them right here. Those are pixels. Now, if I would have turned up my noise filter, if I would have turned up my noise filter a little bit more when I traced the graphic and all, then those little square vectors wouldn't really be there, right? So all these square vectors, they're trash. Get rid of them. Anyhow, over here, our overlap, very simple now on these overlaps and everything. We can go into node editing, and we can just kind of pull that so they're not overlapping. Right? It's not going to affect the design one iota. I mean, this is minor stuff. So we can come over here and let's select that graphic again. Go to the vector validator. So on this one here, once again, we can go either node editing and pull this out, or I'm actually just going to take this and move it a little bit. It's not going to hurt it one iota. It's not going to change the graphic in any major way. Over here, that overlap is those squares. See all those squares right there? I'm just going to take 2 seconds to go through and clean those up. Okay. So that got that one, and that one's taken care of. And down here, one of those figure 8s, right? That's trash. Just get rid of it. Once again, let's go back and vector validator, and it's all cleaned up, right? Very simple. Take the time, clean up your vectors, all that stuff. Now that it's cleaned up, I want to go back to my graphic tool path and recalculate it, right? Now, this toolpath has been calculated for this wavy flag, but it also can be, we can create the same toolpath, just turn off the project on the 3D model and do it for a flat flag too, right? The only time we're projecting onto a 3D model is if we literally need it to follow a 3D model, right? Or beyond, there's a 3D model involved on that. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, that's it for a simple approach to creating 3D flags. So the Don't know what happened there to my graphic. Preview all toolpaths. But that's it for creating a flag, and the graphics and everything. Hour and 40 minutes, not too bad. So we'll leave it at that. The flag pack. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. The flag pack is available. I heard my emails dinging. So for those of you that sent over those emails, I'll send you back an invoice. When the invoice is paid, you'll get a link emailed back to you with the download for that. I'll add these. I'll add the eagle vector to that, and I'll add this new wave to it as well. Yeah, so we'll go there, and you can pay with a debit card, credit card, or PayPal. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you for tonight. Thanks for watching. Simple approach. You're already going to have, if you do get the flag pack, you're going to have those vector files in the vector folder for the flag proportions, right? That's going to be the Betsy Ross 1776 flag or the current United States flag. It's the vector for the flags. That's your starting point. Importing that in, that's your starting point. And then you can follow this video, on how those first steps to create that flat flag. And then this last part, how to make a wave or how to import one of the waves from the kit and just use that. All right, everybody. The first two toolpaths were run. Thank you, Madre. I was wondering what is going on there. Let me one more time. Sorry, I want to end this with an actual finished flag here. Let me see what's happening. Let me see what I got going on here. Oh, I'm an idiot. You got to have the model turned on before you calculate the toolpaths to project onto the model. It didn't know what to project to, ladies and gentlemen. So I got the model turned on now. Let me hit calculate again. I got to recalculate. Got the stripes, the stars, and the graphic. Sorry about that. I forgot that I had turned off the model. There we go. So let's preview that. We'll end with the flag showing, wavy flag showing. And that's how we'll end my video. There we go. All right, everybody. That is our project. That's our project. And again, if you wanted to show the color of the unions, you can do the same vector toolpath that we did before that I had deleted earlier. Just project it onto the 3D model, right? So that 1000 is that 0.001 follows the wave, and it'll add the color to this one as well. We're at 1 hour and 43 minutes. We'll do the last 2 minutes with making that little vector change. So let's do that real quick. So I'm just going to pull this up a little bit and pull this out a little bit. I'm going to create a pocket toolpath, 0.001. I want to project on the 3D model, calculate, preview that visible toolpath, and then I'm going to add the color of blue to that just for kicks and giggles. So you can see that it's going to make me go a little bit deeper. It doesn't like the 0.001 on the 3D flag. That's okay. We'll just do 0.003. Oh. What? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's not. I'm not going to waste time on that. It's not going to like. It's not liking the color add to that wave for some reason. It's probably the step over. It needs a finer step over, and all of that. So anyway, make a tighter step over on it, and it'll add color. It's not liking the add color. I don't want to waste too much time on that. We're at 145. Let's end it there on a good note and all. But just know that you can add colors if you want to and everything. All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and we will catch the Spindle TV members. We'll catch you Wednesday night. We're going to be talking about the mirror mode in 3D modeling and everything. You Spindle TV exclusive members. Thanks to Ron for that tip. And then Thursday night, our public class, you guys and everything that are watching like tonight, I don't know what the topic's going to be, so we'll figure that one out as well and everything. But until next time, y'all have a wonderful evening, and thank you for everything. All right, now.